Welcome to LOL Reader Channel, Episode 1.13. I will read Chapter 4, Liabilities for Environmental Pollution, from Article 160 to Article 175. Article 160. Obligations against environmental pollution. No person shall do any activity that leads to environmental, water, land, or air pollution or causes adverse impacts on the health, public, or private interest. Article 161. Obligations against disturbance by noise, vibration, or odor. No person shall do any activity that causes noise pollution, vibration, or odor causing an environmental disturbance causing an adverse impact on the health, or to public or private interests. Article 162. Liability for environmental pollution or causing danger. Individuals causing environmental pollution shall be liable to compensate for impacts on health, life, or property damages due to environmental pollution and general impact on the environment and shall be liable for restoration of pollution in accordance with provisions of this Code and the Cambodia Criminal Code. Article 163. Obligation to pay for environmental pollution. Individuals whose production activities, commercial activities, or personal services cause growing environmental pollutants via the production or use of hazardous substances or waste discharge shall be liable to pay for environmental pollution. Article 164. Waste deposit payment. The users of products, tools, equipment, or consumer materials that become hazardous substances after usage or when no longer used shall be required for waste deposit payments to be returned in exchange for the waste. Article 165. Management and use of environmental pollution payment. 1. Collected environmental pollution payment shall target study and research, improve environmental quality, or restore the polluted environment. 2. Management and use of environmental pollution payment as in paragraph 1 above shall be determined in an interministerial process between the ministry responsible for environment and natural resources and the ministry or institution responsible for economy and finance. Chapter 5. Environmental Pollution Control Measures. Part 1. Environmental Protection Standards. Article 166. Environmental Protection Standards. 1. Environmental protection standards shall include but not be limited to 8. Environmental quality standards. B. Waste discharge standards. C. Noise and vibration standards. D. Hazardous substance standards in products. E. Other related environmental protection standards in accordance with technological, scientific, and innovative development. 2. As in paragraph 1 above, environmental protection standards shall be determined by a subdecree. Article 167. Environmental quality standards. Environmental quality standards shall be considered for standards related to public water quality, land and soil quality, atmospheric ambient air quality, and indoor air quality, which set limits to chemical substances or pollutant thresholds that do not cause risks to public health for water, soil, and land, and air quality assessment. Article 168. Waste discharge standards. Waste discharge standards shall be considered for standards related to liquid or wastewater discharge, air pollutant discharge, solid waste discharge, hazardous substance or waste discharge, and radioactive discharge, which set the limits to chemical substance or pollutant thresholds permitted to discharge into the environment and that do not cause risks to public health, using verification and assessment in accordance with standards as provided in applicable laws and legal instruments. Article 169. Noise and vibration standards. Noise and vibration standards shall be considered for standards related to noise and vibration release permitted indoors or in open spaces that do not cause disturbance to the living and do not cause health dangers or property damages, and for verification and assessment of legal implementation. Article 170. Hazardous substance standards in products. Hazardous substance standards in products shall be considered for standards related to product quality that may contain or be contaminated by hazardous substances at a permitted level. and do not cause health risks to consumers and the environment for verification and assessment of. Legal implementation. Article 171. Update of Environmental Protection Standards. The ministry responsible for environment and natural resources shall update the environmental protection standards in accordance with national economic progress, national environmental conditions or other requirements and public interests. Article 172. Right to access information on environmental protection standards. The ministry responsible for environment and natural resources shall develop an environmental protection standard database and make it available to all stakeholders and publicly available and accessible in compliance with the provisions of this code. Part 2. Waste Permit. Article 173. Application and types of waste permits. 1. Individuals intending to discharge or commercialize waste shall receive a permit from the ministry responsible for environment and natural resources. 2. Types of waste permits shall be as follows. A. Waste discharge permits include, but are not limited to, solid waste discharge permits, hazardous waste permits, liquid waste discharge permits, air pollutant discharge permits, noise release permits, and vibration release permits. B. Waste commercialization permits include, but are not limited to, a waste service permit or waste collection service permit, waste transportation permit, waste storage permit, waste processing and exploitation permit, waste treatment permit, or final waste handling permit. 3. Procedures related to waste permit application, as stated in paragraphs 1 and 2 of this article, shall be determined in the procas by the minister responsible for environment and natural resources. 4. Despite provisions in paragraphs 1 and 2 of this article, daily waste discharge from household residences without commercial purpose shall not require a permit and shall follow guidelines by the ministry responsible for environment and natural resources. Article 174. Conditions for granting waste permits. A waste permit may be granted only if a. There are technically appropriate materials, equipment, and means for waste discharge, commercialization, collection, transportation, processing, exploitation, treatment, or dump sites that ensure they do not cause environmental pollution. B. There is compliance with waste discharge standards in accordance with legal instruments determined in the provisions of this code or applicable legal instruments. C. They adhere to conditions for environmental pollution preventive measures as determined by the ministry responsible for environment and natural resources. D. They have paid a public service fee for granting a waste permit as determined by legal instruments of a competent ministry or institution. Article 175. Suspension or revocation of waste permits. Waste permits shall be suspended or revoked if a. Using materials, equipment, and means for waste discharge, commercialization, collection, transportation, processing, exploitation, treatment, or dump sites is not technically appropriate. B. They do not appropriately follow the environmental standards and environmental safety rules. C. There is neglect or commission of crime in waste management, causing environmental pollution or health accidents. D. They fail to follow requirements as determined in the waste permits. Thank you for listening. See you in episode 1.14. See you soon. Cheers.